Hi guys, I thought I'd do a tutorial on how to foil eyeshadows. I've done a blog post before on how you can do your own DIY mixing medium, which is using glycerin and water. So I'm actually going to demonstrate exactly that technique. For those of you who don't know what foiling is, it's when you mix pigments or loose eyeshadows with a mixing medium and then apply them wet to the eyelid to get a more intense look to them. So the advantages of doing that is that you usually get a lot more intensity out of your color. They also tend to last longer. You can do it with water, but then they won't last as long because they'll start flaking off. Mixing mediums, they give the foiling a bit more elasticity and a bit more stick to it, so it lasts a lot longer, and that's why we're using glycerin. This is, as you can see, very cheap glycerin, like 8 rand a bottle from Spar. This is actually a Spar brand, and you mix that with the water just to give it that little bit of elasticity so it doesn't just immediately start flaking off. So I'm going to demonstrate that now. I've got a little container here, and what you do is you mix 1 part glycerin to 3 parts of water. So I'm just going to take glycerin, pour a little bit of that into the bowl. You don't need a lot because you need exceptionally little to actually mix it in the first place. Then we're going to add a bit of water. Now I use one of these sippy cups. They're very useful if you just want to measure off a small amount of water. So I'm just going to judge by eye how much water I need. And then you just mix that together until the glycerin is completely dissolved in the water. And that's it. Now you've got your own basic mixing medium right there. Nothing special about it at first. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to swatch some of the pigments I want to use on the back of my one hand, so you can see what it looks like in powder form, and then I'm going to foil it on the back of the other hand so you can see the difference between the two once I'm done. So okay, let's start with, I'm going to use this brown called Box of Chocolates from the Essence Pigments range. Just swatch them on the back of my hand quickly. You can see it's a nice dark brown, quite intense. Then the other one I'm going to be using is this pink by Sleek called So Sleek Eye Dust. Also a beautiful pink. There you go. So a very beautiful color. And then I'm going to be using this satin powder from Crayolan in a nice turquoise color there, aquamarine. And I've never really used this because I've always been slightly disappointed with it in powder form, but since I've learned how to foil things, I'm probably going to be using this in the near future. Okay, so there's the 3 colors I want to try and foil. Oh, I'm going to add one more because this always comes out so beautifully. Golds, coppers, those type of things. They look beautiful if you do this in the corner of the eye and then you do your other eyeshadows over this. So this is Sleek's Glory. Kind of like a nice dark golden color. And you'll see the pigment is quite grainy. So it has a tendency to be a little bit rough. Okay, so I'm going to be testing those 4. So I've got my little makeshift palette. I use these little ceramic tiles, they work wonderfully. So what I need to do now is I'm going to be using my mixing medium. I'm going to get my first pigment, Box of Chocolates, tap some of that out into the lid so I can get quite a bit of the pigment exactly where I need it. Dip your brush into the mixing medium, and then you just dry it off a little bit. You don't need it sopping wet, just damp. Dip it into the pigment, and if you want to, you can mix it beforehand, like on the ceramic tile, or you can mix it directly on your skin as you're painting it on. And there we Okay, that's box of chocolates. Compared to its powder counterpoint, it's already much darker, much more intense. Okay. Next one I'm going to do is the nice pink. So sleek. Dip my brush into the mixing medium again. Tap it off so it's not too wet. Tap it into the pigment. I'm just going to mix it on the back of my hand. Beautifully smooth eyeshadow right there. Then, last but not the least, I'm actually just going to pour a bit of water here into a separate container so I can rinse off my brush. Dry it off. Dip it into the mixing medium. Tap off the excess. Time for the Crayolan one. Pick up some of the pigment. And I'm also just going to mix this on the back of my hand. There we go. Okay. And then the last one is the gold, which I always love foiling because I love foiling metallic shades. They come out like liquid metal and really gives a beautiful added bonus effect if you do eyeshadow with that. Okay, so I'm using, where is it now? There we go, there's Glory. Dip it into the mixing medium. Tap off the excess. Pick up some pigment. Be careful of not foiling too thickly to make too thick a layer because that will also lead to it flaking off earlier. You just want a nice smooth, it's like applying a cream eyeshadow. You just want it nice and smooth spread across the skin. Okay, so there we've got the powder ones. Not bad, nice and bright, but not bad. There we've got the foiled ones, nice and bright and shiny. They've got an extra shine to them at the moment because they're still wet. As soon as they set, this will actually last quite long throughout the day, and especially if you do this over a primer, it will pretty much last you the whole day. So you don't need a fancy mixing medium. I must say a lot of the mornings I'm lazy, so I just use my Fix Plus spray and wet my brush with that like I did in my first eyeshadow tutorial. Because the disadvantage with the glycerin mixes, you'll probably need to mix a new batch every morning because it can systematically go off. It's got sugar and obviously things like that in it, which will lead to it building up bacteria. So it's better that you rinse out your containers, wash your brushes, and the next day you make a new batch if you want to use it again. Or just keep it for special occasions. Either way, it's quick enough to do. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and that you learned something from it. If you have any questions, please let me know. And have fun. As always, makeup is for having fun with. So, bye!